Hi, everybody. My name is John DePietro.
And I'm Bob Zagami with the Camper Report Show.
Hey, the Camper Report Show. It's always fun to introduce the latest news of the RV world to our viewers. And Bob, I'm going to be talking to the operators of the Arvik Small Park of the Year. It's going to be exciting. Who are you going to be talking with in this episode?
I'm going to be talking to Claude Donati with NeXus RV, and there's a little bit of a linkage to our other story that we're going to talk about.
Wow, we've got everything lined up for you folks. Stay with us. It's the Camper Report Show. We'll be right back. Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Camper Report Show. My name is John DePietro. I'm joined with Bob Zagami. You know, we're in our news segment now, and Bob, I think we should change this news segment to breaking news because you were right on top of a gigantic news story today that our viewers are sure going to recognize these familiar names. Tell us about what you found out.
I woke up to it this morning, and it was a shock throughout the industry, but Thor Industries has purchased Tiffin Motorhomes, one of the last truly large independent motorhome manufacturers, RV manufacturers in our business, because they also make fifth wheels.
So you say Thor, and there's a Thor brand, but they're much more than just that one brand of Thor. Could you mention some of the other names that people might be familiar with that are also owned by Thor?
You got Keystone, you got Dutchman, you've got Airstream, you've got Thor Motor Coach. There's probably about 12 to 15 different brands under the Thor umbrella. And what's interesting about Thor and the way that Bob Martin, the CEO, handles it is each one of the divisions is a standalone company. They don't share purchasing. They don't share human resources. They have to make it on their own. And they have their own budgets and their own process. So the feeling is that Tiffin will be left alone, and the current management team, which is Bob Tiffin, who started the company, and two of his sons and his grandson who run it right now, will stay in place down there in Red Bay, Alabama.
Red Bay, Alabama, yeah, whereas Elkhart is the home base for Thor. Now, when you look at the two, when you look at the acquisition with, I would say pretty much high-end, both gas and diesel-powered motorhomes, as well as Thor. Well, let's talk about that a second, because people think of Tiffin only as motorhomes, but they branched out not too long ago with the Van Lee line. Talk about who's running that division of the company.
Yeah, that's actually the son and the grandson that are running that, but that's been brought back in. That was separately before. They were making them over in Mississippi. They brought it back into the Tiffin brand name. So the revenue of Tiffin at the time of the sale was about $800 million a year, 90% of which was Tiffin motorhomes. 10% was the Van Lee fifth wheels. And it is kind of interesting because they do have luxury motorhomes, but if you could put their lineup quite similar to the Thor Motor Coach lineup, because Tiffin starts off with a 24-foot Sprinter Mercedes-Benz chassis Class C motorhome, and goes up to a very large diesel pusher. And the Thor Motor Coach line has pretty much product for product, different quality, different price points, but they make similar type products at many of the price differentials on the scale.
Now, earlier, I think it was just last week or so, we were talking about the big three with Forest River, Thor, and Winnebago controlling what, 84 to 88%?
Yeah, no, probably 80 to 84, more in the 80s to 84 range of what was built out there. So this adds to the Thor legacy.
I mean, this is really going to change the landscape, because who's left in that category where they're really a major standalone company? I mean, Newmark came under the Winnebago umbrella, and Jayco was acquired as well.
Well, the only other really large independent left out there would be NeXus RV, which happens to be my guest this week, Claude Donati, and is CEO, and I'll have him as my guest in a little while here on the program. And he started the company with Dave Middleton. But when you think about it, this $800 million, Thor is an $8 billion company right now with a B. So they're adding almost another $1 billion to it, and they are already the world's largest RV manufacturer here and throughout Europe. So it was a very impressive acquisition, to say the least.
Now, what would that do to the dealer network? Would that have any change at all with the local dealer that might be carrying that product? Are there going to be any conflicts?
Typically not, because the way that they run them as separate divisions, they'll compete with other divisions. If they increase production, maybe they'll put on a few more dealers. But I don't think you'll see any materialistic change probably for a year or two. It'll just run. It'll just happen to be under the Thor umbrella.
So we've had many conversations over the years with Bob Tiffin, the founder. And is he expected to remain in the same role, in the same capacity, or is he going to kind of drift into the sunset?
As of right now, he's in his late 70s, but he's still very active, still out at every show. So I don't think he'll slow down too much, if at all.
So our viewers, our regular retail viewers, just like you and me, would be really not expecting anything from the dealer level at this stage of the game.
Right. They might be concerned, as with a lot of acquisitions, that there may be an overburdened Thor input to it, but we don't see that in the other divisions at all. He doesn't. Bob Martin doesn't tell Bob Wheeler what to do at Airstream or the other guys that are out there. So I think that it'll just run business as usual.
Although their display,
but his checking account will be a little bit bigger. That's all.
Their display at
it was a $300 million acquisition.
Yeah, their display at corporate functions will be a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
Exactly. Speaking of bigger, the other big news is I think America's largest retail stores, Camping World, made a big announcement this week. Talk about what that is about.
That was also a very interesting announcement. They had a joint press conference with Lordstown Trucking Company, and Lordstown Motors actually is going to be making an electric truck, which they had already announced.
Mm-hmm.
But Marcus Lemonis negotiated with them, and that electric truck is going to be sold at Camping World stores, and it should be out sometime next year. And Marcus at the press conference very brazenly said, we can sell more than they can make. And it's going to be a very interesting twist.
Rather than have Lordstown develop their own dealer network and build their own buildings and go through all the back end cost of getting established, they decided to hook onto the side of a name that's already recognized and has national distribution. Interesting.
Well, that's their plan. And of course, Marcus had a tremendous auto background before he came into the RV business. So he knows enough about cars and trucks to I think, pull it off. It's very interesting because there's several electric trucks being, talked about and in prototypes, and some are on the production line. Ford's got them, Ram has them, Chevy's certainly working on them. They're investing a lot of money in electric vehicles. So if they can pull this off, the truck's going to have a list price of around $53,000. It's going to be called the Endurance, and it's going to have a range of about 250 miles on a charge, and supposedly a tow weight ability of 6,000 pounds. That's pretty good. You can tow an awful lot of RVs for 6,000 pounds. 3,500 is what we look at for the light half tons and less than half tons and small SUVs. So 6,000, you get above that. And that's also a sweet spot for Camping World in terms of the trailers that they sell. So now they can, if somebody was going to buy a travel trailer, they're on the lot. Exactly. You get them for both.
Why go to your Chevy dealer or Ford dealer or your Ram truck dealer when we can deal with it all right here? And Mr. or Mrs. Consumer or Mr. Consumer Family or whatever, you can get them both serviced at the same right here at one of our, hundreds of price, dealer locations.
Right. Over 100 locations nationwide.
Across the country. A very interesting development. Actually, both very interesting developments
interesting week for sure
in the RV world. So everybody stay with us. We've got two great stories coming up on this edition of what, Bob?
The Camping Report Show.
Thank you so much, everybody. We'll be right back. Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Camper Report Show. My name is John DePietro, and you know, we've been RVing for almost 20 years now, and it seems that some of the coolest people we've met have been at really cool campgrounds. And we've got a treat today because we are talking with the owners of one of the coolest campgrounds in the entire United States, and they have the trophy to prove it. They're from Beaver Dam Campground. They are in Berwick, Maine, and welcome Michelle and Sheila. Hi, guys.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
So you won the big award again. It's the second time in, 5 years that you've won National Park of the Year by the highly regarded National Association of RV Parks and Campgrounds, also known as RVIC. And you know what? 2 out of the last 5 years you've won that award. And what do you attribute it to, ladies?
Honestly, the people. You know, it's a great piece of property we have, and we do offer great amenities, but both our employees and our customers truly is what makes the experience here.
You know, one of the judges in our most recent win said that we have the guest experience running like a well-oiled machine. And I think that over our 20 years, this is our 20th year in business, that consistency is what we strive for. You know, we received a review, it's my favorite of all time, that says, you know, we come every year, it will be predictable, the site will be, you know, well maintained, facility will be spotlessly clean, we'll have a great time, and we'll look forward to coming back again. So,
you know,
I think that's part of it.
It's very interesting that the guest had mentioned the term predictable, because
I know.
time, isn't that interesting?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a long time ago in the 60s, when Holiday Inn first started advertising nationally on TV, their slogan was, "The best surprise is no surprise." And
Yeah,
it's probably one of the reasons that people go to national chains, because they know what they're going to get. But in the camping industry, they kind of want something unique. And even though it's unique, they want it to be consistent from visit to visit. And
Sure.
you've got a great staff there, ladies. And I would say that they get their walking orders from you two.
They do. But we give them the power to do as they see fit. If something comes up and we're not available right away, whatever they go by is whatever they decide is what we go by. We give them that authority, and they're very customer service oriented.
Yeah. Again, consistency. This next year we'll have 2 staff members that have been with us for 20 years.
Yeah.
You know, so they're only 1 year behind us.
Yeah, and you know, if you talk to campground owners nationally, they'll say one of their biggest issues is not the campers, but trying to find the right personality of the person who's going to deal with that. Because, you know, when you work in an industry that is a leisure-based industry, when you're dealing with people on vacation, many times they have different expectations than if you were just like working in a bank or a retail store. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh,
Sure,
absolutely.
absolutely.
100%. They're here to have fun, you know. They want us to seem like we're having fun, and we do have fun, you know.
That is what we have to keep in sight, is that they are here on vacation, and we need to make that the best they can have.
Right. Tell us a little bit about the facility, where you're located, where you are in the great state of Maine, how many sites, what's the percentage between, people that stay all season long and people who come in just for the weekend?
Well, we're located in southern Maine. We're only like 3 miles from the New Hampshire border, so we are a border town, and we have a lot of business coming from outside the state of Maine. This past year with COVID, with the restrictions, we ended up with a lot more business from the state of Maine than we have in the past. We have 60 sites, and of that, we do 10 as seasonal, and we do have some other long terms, not necessarily the entire season, but 4 weeks, 6 weeks. Longer term stays. So probably all in all, maybe 15 to 20 maximum, with the remaining being transient weeks and weekenders.
Yeah, I like weekender. Weekender is a better word than transient. Transient seems kind of like homeless, doesn't it?
That does, yeah, it does. It does. And we
don't have that.
No, we don't have that. Thank you, Lord.
Yeah, exactly.
We do have a lot more tenters this year, though. A lot more tenters this summer, and a lot more new people
Yeah, and that's what I was going to bring up, that question with the influx of new people, because the dealers at least in New England and actually throughout the entire country are experiencing their best sales year ever. And many times you can't even order an RV and get it in the same season. In other words, this past 2020, if you didn't buy it in March or April, you didn't see it for this season. But with the influx of new campers, outside of the fact that they scraped trees when they were backing in, did you see anything different in their behavior as to, how they adhered to quiet hours and that type of thing? Was that an issue at all with you folks?
We did not have that issue at our park. It was more of the first time newbie, I don't know what I'm doing sort of issue that we'd have.
So Sheila helped with a lot of
sewer, electric, it's my world.
Yeah. Not my world.
But as far as behavior, ours were very good. I can't make any complaints of our people this year. I can count on one hand the number of times we had to speak to people about the noise level after 10 o'clock. Our quiet hours are 10 p.m. We're known for that, and we do enforce it. And I don't even think I had to address 5 different people over the course of the season.
Yeah, I think our reputation kind of precedes us if you look
True.
at reviews and whatnot.
Yeah.
And, most people are happy that we do enforce the rules. The kids will be going full out until 10 p.m., but at 10 p.m., it's like somebody, flipped a switch, and we're happy about that. So
yeah.
that's good.
What would you say to other people that are watching this that might not necessarily be quote unquote into camping yet? Camping, it's kind of hard to describe to a first timer until they've really been there and been around the campfire, or even cooler than that, smell the bacon cooking on
Exactly. Yeah.
adjacent campground, right?
It's not just setting up a tent or an RV and going to bed. It's about the whole experience. It's about the campfire, the smells of the campfire, the warmth of the campfire, the times you have with family and friends around the campfire. We're fortunate to have a body of water, a 20-acre pond that they go out and paddle boat and canoe and kayak, and they go fishing, and just all the various experiences that are available. That it's just a fun family outing. It's
unplugged for a while. I mean,
right.
We do have Wi-Fi, but I think most people are looking to unplug and reconnect. Especially this year, it was really nice to see.
Yeah, unplug and reconnect.
We have a schedule.
Very interesting choice of words. Yeah. Unplug and reconnect
with each other. Right.
Yeah. Unplug with technology and reconnect with people.
Yeah. We did our best to still do our scheduled events, COVID friendly. So
that was tough.
You had mentioned that it's your 20 years that you've been, involved with that particular facility. Are you seeing any second generation families come back?
We're up to 4th generation. We have one family in particular I can think of. There's several 2-generation, many 3-generation, and we're up to in one family a 4th generation.
Yeah.
So what might have started with one campsite, it's expanded to 3, 4, 5, 6 adjacent campsites.
Yeah, sure. Right.
Yeah. So
and it's fun. I guess that's part of the experience too. So these teenagers that grow into young adults, they had fun as kids. They want their kids to have the same experiences that they had, and that's how you end up with these multi-generational things. So it does say something about the campground and the people here that they want to come back. It's a good time.
Yeah.
How many 20-year-olds want to go to Memorial Weekend with mom and dad instead of with their buddies?
Yeah,
and that's
what
they've
done it
many of them
before.
do here.
They do that again. I mean, I'm
right.
interviewing another couple today that they hit the road when the daughter was second grade, and the son was in kindergarten, and they homeschooled them. And again, this was 25 years ago. Now she has her 2 children, and is doing the same thing. In fact, even married a person who was in the same field as her dad. And
really?
Now they're on the kayaking tour. So you got mom and dad in one unit, and daughter and son-in-law in another, and the little kids. And I think they have 4 dogs between them. And it's very interesting that they say that if it wasn't for RVing, they wouldn't be this close together as a family.
Sure.
You feel that that's a true statement?
Oh,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
That RVing
Yeah,
keeps
we
families?
have, we do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have two long-term sites, actually fairly local people that it's the parents and their adult, child
Children
is
with their
next door
kids.
with their children. So it's the grandparents and the, parents with their kids all side by side.
Yeah, they're within a probably 10, 12-mile radius of us. And
Yeah.
Hey, do you have that trophy that is usually kept on the counter when you walk in?
it's in the other room.
It's in the other room, okay.
But I can,
But
I
you
can get
got
it for you.
you know,
We've got them stacked right there in the window together.
because of all the hundreds, if not thousands, of campgrounds in the United States, you guys have the distinction of winning
That's
that
right.
award not once but twice. We want to wish you the best, and we will put down the URL, the website address, so that if people want to make reservations, I'm just guessing right now as I look out at a mound full of snow. That camping is not on our mind right now, but when it's green and beautiful out there, if people want to get a campsite next year, they should be taking action now, should they not?
Sooner than later. Yep. Things are already booking up quick. So
I know you had mentioned that
definitely.
some of the big weekends or some of the weeks
Yeah.
in July are already
Yeah.
finito, right?
Yeah. July and August, waterfront, full hookup sites. It's hard to come by right now.
Yep. But if you're looking for a week or longer right now, now's the time to do it.
Yeah, definitely.
Great. Michelle and Sheila, thank you so much for your time. And we want to let you know
Thank you.
that we've been talking with the owners of Beaver Dam Campground in Berwick, Maine, winner of the 2020 award for Best RV Park in the entire United States. And thank you so much. And we'll be back with more on the Camper Report Show right after these important messages.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Camper Report Show, and I'm delighted to have Claude Donati from NeXus RV as our guest today. And Claude is one of the founders of NeXus RV, and amazingly enough, tell us the crazy story about trying to start a company in the middle of a recession or at the start of a recession.
Good morning, Bob. How are you?
Good day.
Well, in 2009, as everybody was running for the hills and dealers were folding and manufacturers were rolling up their doors, I found myself in a position where I had to make a move. It was out of necessity as much as being an entrepreneur, that I found myself trying to figure a way out to stay in the RV business and also fight through the recession. And the only thing we came up with that made sense, because no bank would lend money, was turn ourselves into a factory direct company and try selling our product right to the customers, kind of do a Tesla, Starbucks kind of thing, control everything from cradle to grave. And one day at a time, we were selling units to customers, and we developed some great friendships and learned a great deal about the economy, learned a great deal about what dealers go through, and also built a company that we got up to about 25 million in sales.
Yeah, and it's amazing when you think about it, by trying to do it individually, one-on-one with consumers, and you live and die on every sale because your reputation goes with every one of them. So you fought through that, and it really wasn't that much of a challenge for you. You built quality products. And talk about some of the products and the evolution of what you've got in the product line now.
We started with the Ford cutaway chassis, the B Plus, and the traditional Class C. That was our bailiwick from our previous experience. And then a few years into that, we also felt really comfortable in the Super C space, as that product we had been managing before we started the company. And we saw it as a unique opportunity to develop a segment that was kind of up and coming. It started to become mainstream. And so we felt like the biggest way for a factory direct company to increase their sales, the first level was to increase what you offer. So every time we introduced a new product, we had a whole nother group of people that found NeXus RV to be of interest. And we continued to do that for 7 years. We introduced a gas Class A, then we did a diesel pusher, and then we got to 2017, and we had grown to this factory direct company that had dealerships in California and Texas and Delaware and Indiana. And it was like, we're traveling more now than we did when we sold to the dealers. And it became a little too much to manage factory direct. The cost of carrying the entire product through the whole life cycle. So we decided, as the market was super hot, our brands had been established, it was the right time for us to introduce ourselves to the dealers in September of 2017.
And that's been a nice ride and it's actually been a smooth transition too, because even the customers that you had as factory direct, they were very happy with that and having the dealers close by, and the dealers were happy to have another product line that wasn't a Me Too product on the lot. And talk about the differentiators that you bring to the marketplace for the consumers.
Our transition, there was a sense of skepticism from the dealers because we had gone factory direct, but very quickly they saw our commitment to the new dealer network and supporting the dealers. And within a year, I think it was like our old days where we were doing business with the big dealers in the country, and we certainly value their relationships a great deal. But what we did, we knew we had to have different types of product to really benefit and give the dealer something else to sell. And the first thing we do is we build everything with high strength, low alloy steel. We don't use any aluminum in our framing, in our roof trussing, in our floors. There's no aluminum at all. And really the benefit to that is when you drive a motorhome down the road, sometimes you can get the wobbly box feel you get by the tap welding and the looseness of an aluminum. But with our heavy structure of steel, you have a torsional rigidity, so it's a safer ride. Plus, we think it's safer in case there's a collision of any kind, your family's protected. So we really sold the idea of high-strength, low-alloy steel as the foundation of our construction.
And what about the Asdel? You're using a lot of Asdel, or totally?
Yeah, yes, we are. A second part, obviously building our entire company on steel is not enough. We have what we call an exclusive features, and there are about 10 things that we do. And number two in value, in my opinion, is we don't put any wood product in any laminated part in our unit. So the entire sidewall and the entire roof has all got a substrate of Asdel in place of Luan. So you don't have expansion and contraction. You don't have moisture that gets sucked into the roof or sidewall. And so it really adds an R value that's higher than Luan. It doesn't hold moisture. It's lighter weight, costs a little more money, but now all of a sudden, anybody that might have formaldehyde concerns with respiratory issues, it's a pretty clean product to build with. And so that's our second biggest exclusive features, that we're high strength, low alloy steel, and we don't use any wood in our sidewall or our roof.
What about the platforms that you're building on? You've got some of the best nameplates up in front of those units.
Yeah, well, obviously Ford is where we started. Ford is the #1 Class C producer of chassis, and we joined them right away. QVM certified, which you have to jump through some hoops to do that, and we were excited to do that and make sure we were doing it right. And then we developed an exclusive relationship with International, and we had a relationship with them in our previous life. And last year we were the largest international purchaser. I think we beat out Red Bull. And so we were very excited about, the things we do with them. So International has several price points within their segment. The Durastar chassis is what we build on. We have the Durastar Light and then the Durastar Heavy. Ranging from 300 horsepower up to 360 horsepower. The bigger chassis has airbags and can tow 20,000 pounds. So there's some real good things we can do with that in that Super C segment. Because
you are independent, I think you're the largest independent motorhome manufacturer left in our industry, right? Of considerable size.
That's hot off the presses. I haven't done the math exactly, but with Mr. Tiffin selling to Thor Industries yesterday, I think we're probably the largest independently owned motorhome manufacturer. And it's incredible the consolidation that our industry has found itself in over the last decade. It really is phenomenal.
What do and that's an interesting discussion, obviously, for the consumers also, because when you look at it, it's not just the consolidation of the manufacturers, it's also the consolidation of these mega dealerships and these consolidators that are buying up dealers around the country. What do you think the long-term impact, if we look out there 3 to 5 years, what do you think the long-term impact is on the industry?
Well, I think there's some quality initiatives that some of the bigger companies are putting in that are certainly going to help improve the experience our retail customers have. You know, Thor integrating Heimer is something that I look to as a true effort to try to really capitalize on some of the best practices happening with Heimer. But I think there is going to make the cost of entry will go up. It was a very difficult thing for us 10 years ago to enter the motorhome market. There's just heavy capital needs when you do that. Buying chassis and housing chassis and being part of a chassis pool can draw a lot of capital needs. Unlike travel trailer business, you can kind of just start up and do it a little bit easier. But I think in general, it should be a little harder to get into the industry. You should have to raise enough capital to stand behind your product and assure that you're building good quality product. So I think cost of entry is going to be a bigger challenge to get in. But I do think the quality will improve.
Yep, that's a good point. I want to thank you for joining us today, but before I let you go, what's in the future, the short-term future for NeXus right now?
Well, we through this COVID experience, we went from thinking, how are we going to pay people in April to have the most incredible backlog we've ever had. We're ramping up production. We just acquired another building in Elkhart, and we're looking to expand. You know, somebody once told me, you're either standing on the accelerator or you're stepping on the brake, and we're stepping on the accelerator right now. Our hope is to fully eclipse the 100 million in sales next year while improving our quality with more space to build the product in. But I think we're making hay like every other manufacturer right now. We have to enjoy this time we're in and do our best to continue to grow. And that's what we're planning on doing. I mentioned to you before we started that my shift has completely happened. I wake up at 3:30 in the morning. I come to the factory, and every day at 5 a.m., I'm shaking everybody's hand, making sure we have all the people we need to do the work we need to do. I don't even think about sales and marketing right now. In fact, I'll get a note saying we got another order, and it's like, oh, I feel the pressure of having this backlog. You know, you can't make money on your backlog, so you have to be able to produce the product, and that's really my focus.
That's fantastic. Well, it's been a great 10-year run. I'm sure the next 10 will be equally good and maybe a whole lot better for you. And thank you for joining us on the Camper Report show today, Claude.
Thank you, Bob. I appreciate it very much.
All right.